In this video, we'll be discussing substance use, what it is not, and also how to manage it in the workplace, specifically around harm reduction. The relationship with alcohol and substances in the hospitality and food service sector is very complicated. Many of us are passionate about many products that are alcoholic, like wine, beer, spirits, and we love sharing our product knowledge. It is a delicate line, though, a fine line between a tasting experience and overconsumption. Plus, often it is normalized and glamorized or even encouraged, as well as provided by employers as a reward. So let's be clear on what substance use disorder is not. It is not about drinking or using drugs once in a while. It is not a sign of weakness. It is not something that everyone experiences. It is not something to snap out of or something that lasts forever. It is different for each of us, and all of us have different relationships with substances. If you consume alcohol or substances, that certainly does not mean you have a substance-related problem or a disorder. As I said, each of us have different relationships with substances. Substance use is mostly only a problem when use continues despite mental, physical, social, legal, and/or financial consequences. Substances have become the norm to help with a bad day or celebrate a great day. It is the most common maladaptive coping mechanism in the industry and beyond. Even outside of hospitality, bars and restaurants, drinking alcohol is socially acceptable, and in many environments, even encouraged. If you have a challenging relationship with substances, or you live with a disorder or addiction, it is very important to establish boundaries at work and in other environments where it is normalized. If your relationship with substance use is causing harm, please don't ignore it. Avoidance, unfortunately, makes it so much worse and can have dangerous effects on yourself and others. Connection is the most important thing for everyone, especially when having challenges with substance use. Try to empathize and support others who might be struggling with substance use-related challenges. In order to provide a supportive, psychologically safe environment at work, we must make non-alcoholic options readily available and make it feel that it's okay not to drink. One harmful aspect of the relationship we have with alcohol is how it's often used as a reward. In restaurants and bars, this is commonly done and often used as a way to praise employees. This experience is very common and gets reinforced even outside of work as well. You'll often hear people say, "Oh, just one more drink," or "I'm just drinking because I deserve it. I earned it. I had a bad day. I had a good day." But just as we train a pet with treats for good behavior to reinforce that behavior, we start to do that with our brains as well. So when you tell yourself, "Good job," and have a drink, it gives that hit of dopamine to the brain. Dopamine is the feel-good brain chemical that interacts with the pleasure and reward center. So your brain says, okay, this is a behavior we need to repeat, essentially adopting it into the subconscious as necessary for our survival. And unfortunately, what happens is rinse and repeat. And this is when our relationship with substances can start down a slippery slope. Eventually, your usage of a substance isn't good enough, and to get the same feel-good effect, we increase the amount, raising our tolerance level higher. Then what happens is that this reward can become a punishment and leads us to act out of character. We may also experience less sleep or increased anxiety. Often we wake up feeling like shit, plus other negative side effects. If this happens, please be very kind and patient with yourself. So how can we support folks with substance use in the industry? Start by asking for consent around substances. Don't make assumptions, and don't enforce your own preferences onto others. Avoid making judgments about anyone else's personal lifestyle or personal choices, and always ask how they want to be treated. If you have any doubt, always ask how you can offer support and do not make assumptions. Addressing substance use and substance use disorders is critical to maintaining a psychologically safe workplace. This means that training, education, and resources should always include substance use disorder, information, and treatment. When a workplace shames or ignores substance use issues, it may encourage employees to hide their challenges or prevent them from seeking and accepting help. Although substance use is very common in this industry, there are always folks that choose to be sober. This is their choice, and we must respect this without judgment or questioning. It's very important that we make sure that our environments are safe to be sober. By taking a proactive approach, we can create policies, programs, practices, and a psychologically safe environment to reduce the negative mental and physical health impacts. This will allow individuals to flourish, no matter their personal preference. Since hospitality and food service work environments are so often intertwined with substance use, it is important to learn about harm reduction practices. So what is harm reduction? Why is it important? Harm reduction is the practice of unconditional and non-judgmental support for people who use substances, regardless of what their personal choices are. Harm reduction approach is to reduce harms for the person using substances as well as to the community, which obviously includes your restaurant. A harm reduction approach emphasizes a person's right to make personal choices, allowing them to choose their own definition of recovery and wellness. It helps adopt a less judgmental attitude with people who continue to use substances. It also helps reduce the stigma associated with those behaviors. These measures aim to save lives and reduce suffering without requiring that a person stop a behavior or activity that may have risks, such as using substances. An easy way to think of harm reduction is a seatbelt. That is a widely accepted harm reduction practice that all of us see the value in. Now that we've discussed what harm reduction is, I want to run us through some examples of harm reduction practices that you can adopt in your restaurant or bar. The first one is easy, and all of us should be doing this as much as possible. Invest in workplace mental health training and substance use education. The more we know, the easier it becomes to manage. Another example is for leaders and managers to lead by example and be open with your staff about your own wellness or struggles. Encouraging vulnerability creates psychological safety. Another thing about vulnerability is that it's contagious. So when one person leads with vulnerability, it makes it much easier for everyone else to follow. Invite the entire team to learn more about harm reduction and create programs together. Always make sure that people's input are being included and that we're looking at lived experience as invaluable. Engage in frequent check-ins with your staff. Always ask them for their input and involve them in decision making. Organize some socializing activities that aren't solely based around substance use. Wherever possible, avoid substance use while working, unless necessary for testing or product knowledge. Encourage regular breaks and water consumption during service. Design a workplace wellness survey for staff that can be filled out anonymously to gather feedback. Schedule frequent training sessions based on input from your team. Make sure to ask them what specific topics they're interested in that can help everyone learn more together. Host staff wellness events that are inclusive to everyone, including sober folks. We've run through harm reduction practices, and I want to cover one last thing that's important for leaders to remember. Make sure to continue your learning and include harm reduction in your company policies. You can take certification courses like CNECTed by Not 9 to 5, or watching more videos like this one to learn more. Developing and implementing harm reduction practices ensures that your workplace is psychologically safe, which is paramount to strong mental and physical health for everyone on the team. To learn more about equity and inclusion, tune in to the next video.